Hello, everyone. As foretold, we have returned with another news video because we knew that as soon as we did a video rounding up the news, there would be more news. And so it has come to pass. Yes, this is another Doctor Who news video, although it's quite a small one. It's only condensed to the one bit of news we had, which could have some ramifications. It's I'd say pretty big news.
Yeah.
We'll get straight into it. Bonnie Langford, former companion of the Doctor, as Melanie Bush. It's Melody
Mel.
is somebody else completely.
It is, yes.
Melanie Bush
Yes.
has returned or is returning to the show. Officially, in their little announcement post, they've said she's alongside the 15th Doctor in Series 14. But we'll come on to why she could be making an appearance sooner than that.
Why this isn't particularly really shocking news, perhaps.
No. So for those who may not know anything about Classic Who, she was a companion to the 6th and 7th Doctors in the late 80s, I think. 86 and 87.
Yes.
So quite a while ago, you know what, that's pretty much 20
Don't work it out.
Years, 30 odd years, 35 years, I don't know. And she was most recently seen at the end of Power of the Doctor in the little companion circle with Graham and everyone, which was a nice moment. You thought, that's nice, we'll never see her again. Well, surprise, we're seeing her again.
People were already like, why is she on Earth? She didn't end up on Earth. Why is she there? And I think they're going to delve into it. I mean, if you listen to Big Finish and Me books, you'd already know. But I think we're probably going to get a bit on screen as well.
A retcon. A big
probably.
retcon.
Yeah.
She
never travelled with the Doctor.
No, could you imagine? What twist? She's actually a new person.
She's a scroll.
Yeah. Could you imagine? But yes, this announcement came yesterday, and now we're going to sort of go into some leaks and spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything else, then turn off, go away. It's fine. The big news is she's returning. In terms of the leak stuff, I think they tried their best. They tried so hard not to make her be seen, but somebody saw her, somebody spotted her and put it on Twitter, and I think the social team were like, shit, guess we'll have to confirm now.
Yeah, because I saw them tweet about that, and then they replied being like, I've just overheard a security guard in the radio being like, has Bonnie left yet? It's like, well, that'll do it.
Yeah. Well, never mind. So I think it forced their hand. I don't think we were necessarily going to find out about this at this point. I mean, we might have been. We there might have been.
I can't imagine it would have been this soon. But
no,
maybe it would have been sooner than people might have imagined if she is showing up.
Yes. Right. So the other thing is that there was some overheard dialogue during the 60th filming last year in Bristol, where I think Donna mentioned something about Mel or a Mel. Again,
it was the very first day, I think, of on-set filming when all those photos were coming out. What a time to be alive that was.
Oh, I know. God, absolutely. Just a deluge of leaks, set pictures, so much going on. And yet people were speculating at the time, is it Bonnie Langford? Is it Melody Pond? Is that who they're referencing? That was a bit of a stretch. Was almost never going to be that. But you never know.
They'd say River.
Assuming that's Bonnie, it could mean that she has some role to play in the 60th, and that's where we'll get an actual introduction. Could be that she's working at UNIT. Again, in some leaks, so I think it was Google Maps image, I think, of the Bad Wolf Studios having this big like helipad thing outside with some UNIT branding on. And if you look at the picture they've released of her returning to the show, the backdrop to that picture looks like it's that helipad. And that was erected, I think, for the 60th filming. So if you put, it could be that she's part of this. We see in the trailer the little room the Doctor's in with the screens. It could be that she's part of that, and that's how she's coming in.
Yeah. I'm guessing Kate's recruited her after Power of the Doctor.
Yes, it wouldn't surprise me if.
To say.
Yeah,
especially if we know we're seeing Kate in next series as well.
Yeah, exactly. If Russell's gone, I know, I'm gonna have. They've opened the door for all these companions to return. I'm going to take advantage of it. So I guess, what do you think? This is good? Is this good? I've not watched any of her episodes, I don't think, from Classic Who, so I'm sort of like, oh
Yeah,
nice, but
there's something to be open to altogether. I think it's probably for the best if you have no clue who she is, based
right.
on her fandom reputation and stuff. Although people will pretend they've always loved her now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll round off. I'll give a general idea of how Mel was. So she appeared in 6 stories. First appearing in Trial of the Time Lord, which was like the Colin Baker's last season. It was like a very long season of like individual stories. And she was in 2 of those 6 or 7 stories, whatever made up that season. And at the time, she's kind of brought in as a witness for the trial. And she's like, "Oh, I'm the Doctor's companion." And Colin Baker's like, "Who the fuck are you? We've never met." Because she's kind of been taken a bit out of time. And so he's kind of watching testimony for adventures he hasn't gone on yet that they're kind of putting him on trial for. So he's like, "Oh, okay, so I meet you soon." And then at the end of that season, he kind of takes that future Mel back to her proper time and be like, "Oh, I guess I'll be seeing you." And they fully intended on having that initial adventure for her play out, but then obviously they fired Colin Baker and had to shift everything up in between seasons and bring Sylvester in. So she's the only companion to not have her first adventure with the Doctor seen on screen. So we don't know how that went down, which I think is kind of interesting in a way. Although I'm sure there's like Big Finish and books about it now.
There definitely is Big Finish about that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So she's a computer programmer from Sussex with an eidetic memory, so photographic memory.
Of course.
She's a health enthusiast and often got the Doctor to try and lose weight, hence the infamous carrot juice, carrot juice, carrot juice final line that Colin Baker had. That was all Mel trying to get him on the exercise bike. Then he falls off, hits his head, and regenerates. So thank you, Mel. And Bonnie Langford was cast because of her scream, which tells you all you need to know about how companions were treated in the classic series. In particular, Mel, companions, I think, have that reputation in the classic series because of Mel. She had no character. She just screamed at everything. And I think Big Finish and novels gave her character. So I think it's quite cool that I imagine we're going to see a bit of on-screen redemption for her with this. And the fact that, her last appearance was Dragonfire, which was Ace's first story, because she basically says bye, and he's like, "Well, I like this one. You're coming with me." So that was a different alien world. So will they really delve into it? I suppose they can just say she went back to Earth, and I'm sure you could read about how that even went down. So I think there's some interesting gaps to fill in. It's certainly a bold choice of companion to bring back, but I do quite like the idea of kind of like, bringing Andrew Garfield back in No Way Home, giving him a bit of on-screen redemption. Not that he needed it, best boy. But that kind of deal, I think is a cool choice to take what many consider the worst companion in Doctor Who history.
Like the guy that plays Black Bolt in Inhumans coming back to Doctor Strange.
Yes, exactly the same kind of deal. She's not highly regarded in the fandom. So as a chance to kind of bring a mature version of the character back, companions being written well in the new series also will help her massively, I think. And the fact that it does seem, Russell Thierry's mentioned cliffhangers. So hopefully she's going to be at least part of like a 2-part story or something. I can't imagine she's going to be like, in all 8 episodes or however many we're getting. But maybe like a recurring kind of role, kind of like Kate.
Especially if she's in Unit, it could be that's the first episode and like the last finale could be linked, maybe.
Yeah, kind of. I could see it being like a Sarah Jane role in like series 2 or series 4 when she's, she pops up for a little bit. So yeah, I think it's an interesting choice. Again, I haven't seen most of Mel's stories. I've only seen like 3 or 4, and she's not my favorite. But I do think, this is the chance to actually give her a character, at least on screen. I do know. I think she's a lot more popular now that they've fleshed her out in Big Finish and stuff. But yeah, I am excited. I don't think I've seen Bonnie Langford really in Marching. That's a lie. Big lie. I've seen her in EastEnders, and she was really good in that. So she's more than capable as an actress. I think she'll be really good. I mean, both her sons died in EastEnders. Spoilers. So she went through it in that show. And yeah, I think it'll be cool to kind of keep bringing back some companions, especially with Power the Doctor gave the perfect setup to do it. So you might as well run with it. So yeah, I am excited to see what she kind of brings to it in series 14, and especially if she's in the 60th, what role she would have, and how that might set up her to then interact with Shooty's Doctor as well. So yeah, I actually think it's a really interesting choice. I think it will continue to open the door, maybe for companions like Perry and stuff to make another appearance, because I'm sure, you know,
K9, K9, K9.
Sure, why not? Like a story, I'm sure. So yeah, I think it's a cool choice. I am excited to see what they do with it. Again, I'm not super familiar with Mel, and I don't think anyone will be when we see her again, because she's obviously going to have changed quite a bit, so that the audience like her, I imagine. But yeah, I'm excited to get a kind of another blend of classic and new Who by bringing a really out there character back. And yeah, I mean, we don't know much beyond that, and they kind of just had to announce it now because, you know, the word was out. But it is an exciting, interesting decision, and I'm intrigued to see how it will play out.
So I guess my sort of thought is, for the 60th, you know, these kind of things make sense, but is there a concern that these kind of returning people are going to overshadow series 14 slightly?
I did have that thought. I wasn't going to bring it up because I thought maybe it was just me. I thought it was just me, so I was like, that's just me being a miserable git probably. But I'm glad I guess I'm not the only one, because it's only 8 episodes, series 14, and you know, we're getting Kate and we're getting I don't want to talk about on-set stuff because people might not know. And obviously we're getting Mel back, and I'm sure the focus will still be 15 and Ruby, of course, and it will be them in all of the episodes. But you know, there's so many, like, oh, Jonathan Groff and Jinx Monsoon and Kate's back and Mel's back in 8 episodes. I'm like, well, I hope we have just one episode that's just a Doctor Who episode where Doctor Who things happen with the Doctor and his companion. And maybe we'll get that, maybe we're not. You know, we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out, how long the episodes are, how the stories are structured. It is feeling quite stuffed. But you know, we'll see how it unfolds. They've had literal years working on these episodes at this point, so I'm sure they've kind of ironed out a lot of kinks. And we'll see. But I did have that concern. But you know, I guess we'll see how maybe they set her up in the 60th, so there's not going to be as much baggage going into.
That would be the smart move, especially if they've sort of been, because it very much feels like they've been a flowing 60th to 14 to 15. You know, it's had that sort of feel of everything's like flowed into each other, and they're not doing it haphazardly. And
what they want is that people don't just jump on at the start of series 14 with the new Doctor. I think they're hoping people watch the 60th and then
it goes through
Duty as well, rather than, you know, I'll start with this bold new era, because maybe then they'd be a bit like, who the hell is
especially if they can get people on board with David Tennant and then just keep them on for everything sort of moving forwards. That does make sense. And I mean, we can't complain too much, because we complained when David Tennant and Catherine Tate were back, and we were like, oh, why aren't they getting other people back from before New Who? And now they're getting other people back from before New Who. So it's kind of like, well, you know, we did ask for this, so it's fine.
Yeah. And it does help that she literally was in the previous episode to air as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You know, that whole thing has definitely opened doors, which I hope, and I do hope that it runs with. And if there's the whole talk of spin-offs, which, you know, there has been, then it wouldn't surprise me if we get even more classic companions returning on screen in some form. But at the same time as well, maybe the other thing is Russell again diving back into, I know that worked last time, I'm going to do it again. He had Sarah Jane come back in series 2 with a new Doctor.
He's having another classic companion back. As well.
Yeah, so is that sort of him going, I know this works. It's an easy win for 8 episodes where we got to rush it out, you know.
I'm running out of companions I can't bring back, so Mel,
yeah, exactly.
You threw a dart at the board.
Yeah, funnily enough, a lot of classic Who companions didn't die. Who can we pick from the list this time? Everyone else dead. And I mean, you kind of get that, because again, with New Who, at least, a lot of the companions are in one way or another unavailable to return to the show, whether that's being dead or
that is a good excuse.
Forgotten about or trapped in time or in a parallel universe. Like, the only people that could come back would be Martha and Clara, I would say. But even with Clara, it's still that kind of moment where she thinks the Doctor doesn't know who she is, so it wouldn't necessarily, she wouldn't come of her own accord, if that makes sense. River could still pop out, because thankfully they've made her timeline so confusing that they can just put in a line saying, "Oh, it's before this," and even I think
she's met like every single Doctor at this point, I think.
Yeah, and even Alex Kingston in a recent interview was like, "Well, I'm in a computer, so anything can happen." So who knows? That's how they got around it in Name of the Doctor. They were like, "I'm in a computer, but I'm still here." And it's like, okay,
yeah,
sure, whatever you say.
And I mean, I think Billie Piper will probably rock up at some point as well.
Yeah,
her
wouldn't
interview
surprise me
that she had like last week when she was like, "I'll probably show up on set for a few days, maybe."
Yeah,
it's like, you probably have already showed up on set for a
yeah.
few days, Billy, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she makes an appearance in the 60th. And it's harsh as it's hard to say, but I imagine if Elizabeth Sladen was around as well, she would be playing a bigger part in
for sure.
the 60th, and even Power, and even she might have
probably,
had the
she'd have been in the
Langford
50th, I imagine, if she hadn't passed.
Oh yeah, 100%. But and these things happen, and we should get and honor the history and get these characters back, because you always forget, you always want it to be about the present stuff. But Doctor Who is a show that's been going for 60 years, so it has the element that it can just be like, oh yeah, this thing from 35 years ago, we're going to bring this back in.
It certainly makes sense for the 60th year as well, like to at least test the waters with some people you may not have expected to see. I feel like, I mean, I kind of hope they just outright announce like, oh yeah, she's in the 60th as well, because then that will quell my worries that it's just series 4, the specials, part 2. But also, everyone lost their shit when Peter Capaldi showed up in Day of the Doctor, and obviously he's been announced as he's going to be the next Doctor. He's showing up at Christmas.
But he wasn't announced.
Then he turned up in an early anniversary special. It would be cool if they're kind of doing the same thing here.
Yeah, and it could be. I'm expecting there'll be more. Even David Tennant's recently teased that the 60th has got so much in there that people just aren't even talking about, let alone
Yeah, we've seen like
about, so
3 minutes of like 3 hours of special.
Yeah. Plus you've got the festive special, which is coming up this year as well.
I completely forget we still have Shooty's Christmas special.
So in theory there's 4 episodes coming this year, and then God knows when the next series will start. If they've filmed most of it now, it wouldn't surprise me if that gets a spring release next year.
I can imagine.
And it settles back into that. It'll probably settle back into that usual spring, Christmas, spring, Christmas, spring.
I think it will just depend on what Disney's release schedule's like and when they want new things to drop.
Yeah, it's true. But who knows? I know that
they've slowed down on like releasing like Marvel and Star Wars shows. So I think there'll be a decent gap around that time.
Yeah, and I think that's why they've sort of signed the thing with the BBC and Doctor Who, is because they were like, we need to stop oversaturating our prime products of Marvel and Star Wars, and we need to keep them more.
Because like, I'm not excited for Secret Invasion at all. I don't.
No, I've seen that, and even like even Ahsoka, I'm like,
and it's out in 2 weeks.
Fine, yeah.
I'll watch it when I get Disney Plus again, I guess.
Yeah, and I think even Echo, the fact that that's all dropping on like one day, all the episodes kind of thinks they just want to get rid of it so they can just
it did very much feel like that, didn't
it? But we'll see. I mean, it will be interesting to see whether Disney is in charge of the release schedule, or if it's the BBC, or if it's going to be BBC do it every Sunday and then Disney release all the episodes at the end, which I don't think they should do. But you've seen it before when they've got episodes going out weekly in America. They don't always come out weekly here, at least.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the BBC released the Gavin and Stacey Series 3 DVD 3 weeks before the series finished airing on the TV to get it out for Easter. So, people just knew the ending like a month prior. Well, Easter presents used to be a thing.
I don't think. Yeah, it's true. I don't think they'll do that for Doctor Who, but you never know.
I'd be very surprised.
Could you imagine the twist?
Could you imagine?
But it's interesting. I hope we don't really get any more announcements for the next series or for the 60th, at least casting wise. I think if we keep it as is now, I think everything else in there could be nice surprises. I don't think I want anything, especially if it's going to be a Doctor returning. There's no need for them to do any more if they're not coming for the 60th.
If they were going to announce a Doctor was coming back, I think they would have by now. Well, at least like confirmed that they were in it. Like, if they were going to be on set or something, I feel like they probably just kept all those under wraps.
Yeah, and I mean, we only see these because they know they're going to be filming in the open, and that's why they need to confirm them.
And I'm chronically online, so I also there'd be so many things I just wouldn't have known about otherwise.
Yeah, if you're not looking, if you're not in the Doctor Who Twitter sphere, then you wouldn't have known this was happening. Your first inkling would have been from that media release that came out from them yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I think a lot of people will be going back and rewatching Mel's episodes. So it will definitely be interesting to see the discourse around that as to how that's received and how people are feeling.
Yeah, I've got most of her appearances are in one of the collection box sets, so I will probably be whacking that out at some point.
And all of, if you're in the UK at least, all of Classic Who is on ITVX, which is a paid for it's strange it's on ITV, but it's a paid for subscription service, and they've got all the all Classic Who on there. I think it's like £5 a month. So if you did just want to go and binge all of those episodes, then it'll cost you £5.
Yeah, she's in like 30 episodes in like 20 minutes each, so it wouldn't take you too long.
You just watch an episode a day. There you go. Easy.
Yeah, easy.
But if you can make it that far, because Classic Who is notoriously inconsistent with quality, shall we say?
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, most Doctor Who's inconsistent with quality anyway, but Classic Who more so than most.
When we finish season 18, we'll have to do a video just like summarising our thoughts.
Yes,
our first certainly will. Season of Classic Who.
We certainly will discuss.
If it hasn't got vampires in it, I don't want to know. Is my summary so far?
Yeah, no, got terrible stuff. But some fun stuff. It's of its time, and like I said, with Mel, it'll be interesting because, as you said, she didn't have much of a character.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a complete reinvention for her, really, which I think you're going to need to for the modern day audience and stuff. So.
Yeah, and I think they sort of did a similar thing with Power of the Doctor with the two returning companions in that one. I know Ace had some form of characterization in the first place, but they definitely added layers.
Ace was definitely like the closest to a new Who companion, I guess, that was written. Like in terms of writing, obviously, like Joe Grant, Sarah Jane Smith, they were kind of. That was more their performances than the writing of those characters that kind of made them as popular as they are. But Ace was definitely the first kind of blend of both, I think, properly.
Yeah. And then they cancelled it. We don't like this.
And then they cancelled it.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we'll get the Eighth Doctor's first companion back. Grace Holloway?
I think it's just like a rights issue with the movies, why they haven't done stuff like that before. It's why they can't have Eric Roberts as master, like seen on screen and stuff. So I think that's probably one of the more reasons.
Maybe Paul McGann's because he played the Doctor. That's a different thing. But
I think
the master shouldn't be.
It'd be like a rights thing. I don't know. It's because movie studio only rights to interpretations of characters, maybe. And I think in particular that's why it's so hard with Grace, because she's like
maybe that's why we've never had. Yeah, maybe that's why we've never had Eighth.
Because she would have been perfect for the Power of the Doctor companion support group.
Yeah, and it is a surprise that they've not come back. But again, Disney money, they might be able to swing it.
They'll just buy the rights.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they could. It can't be that much.
What I would give for Eric Roberts to come back and camp it up as the master on screen. Can you imagine?
What a twist! Like they should have that like just a crossover with three of the masters. Just have John Sims, Sacha Dhawan, and Eric Roberts. Just
too powerful.
Just all three of them on screen and just let them fly.
Did you see that video of the convention last weekend?
Yeah, with Michelle
Sacha Dhawan and Sacha Dhawan. That was so good.
Hey, maybe they'll be back. No, I hope not. I mean, I hope they come back, but I don't hope they come back this soon.
Okay.
Especially after being in the last episode. But anyway, big tangents.
We need a break from the master, but we don't need a break from Mel. Welcome back, Bonnie.
Yes, it will be interesting. I'm excited to see what's coming next. And again, now that we've talked about this, there will probably be more news to come out in the next few days anyway. Because when isn't there? But yeah, that's it. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.